Hello everyone and welcome back to TowerGate. It is TowerGate day number 678. 678. January the 29th, 2019, Tuesday. Thank you so much for tuning in. Well, it looks like the State of the Union is on. It's going to be February the 5th, 2019. And so what's going on here? Well, it's very good that Trump's going to be able to give the State of the Union before the February 15th deadline for Congress to reach a deal, or in this case, not so much for Congress to reach a deal, but for Congress to reach a deal based on this group, this bipartisan group that is studying the issue. Because when Trump announced that he was going to reopen government and then they were going to have a 3-week period where they were going to debate this, and I don't think we talked about this, what he decided was that he would kick it to a group, a bipartisan group, Republicans and Democrats, who are going to look at the issue and then come to a solution. And it's that a recommendation that they're going to make that will be voted on somewhere, we assume, before the 15th. So that's basically the deal that we're looking at. Now, Pelosi and Schumer and other Democrats, a couple things going on here. They do internal polling constantly, never-ending internal polling. Every day, many polls, internal polls being conducted, even, within the general population, within the Democratic Party, all sorts of polls. And so they are finding out that that Nancy Pelosi, like I said a couple videos a day, in a government shutdown, usually both parties, the president takes a hit and the opposing party takes a hit. That's what usually happens, and that's what we've seen happen in this. Both Trump and Pelosi and Democrats and Republicans have all taken a hit. They've all their popularities went down during the government shutdown. But there's also internal polling, and they do polling on the president as well, and they're seeing that Pelosi may have actually taken a worse beating personally than Trump did. And they have a lot of other internal polling. And there's no question Nancy Pelosi wanted to push this State of the Union off. She would like to have pushed it off indefinitely, or not even invited him into the chamber. But obviously they've seen internal polling, which is telling them that they've been hurt on this as well. And they can't risk pushing out the State of the Union or denying the president the opportunity to come in to the Capitol and give the State of the Union without possibly taking a huge hit. And that is the reason why Pelosi had to extend the invitation to Trump to come back and do the State of the Union. And then they have agreed on February the 5th, 2019, which plays into Trump's hand because it's 10 days before they have to vote on what this committee comes up with to resolve the border wall issue. And what that means is Trump is going to be able to use the bully pulpit. There's no bigger bully pulpit than the State of the Union address. The whole world watches the State of the Union address. Not only that, Pelosi has got to sit back over Trump. Well, it'll be over this shoulder. She'll be sitting over here behind this shoulder, and she'll have to sit there through the entire Trump State of the Union speech while he talks about the success he's had in the economy, on trade and foreign policy, and everything else, regulations, and all these sorts of things. And that is just going to be very, very humorous, watching Pelosi twitch in her seat. Watch the crazy faces that will come across her face as Trump is going through all his accomplishments, of which there are many, and he should lay every one of them out on the table. And he's also going to use it to make his case again for the border wall. And now in the State of the Union, typically they will choose somebody, the Democrats will choose somebody to make a counter statement, but it's nowhere near the pomp and circumstance that you get when you're the featured speaker at the State of the Union, the president. It looks like amateur hour when you get a little 5 or 10 minute rebuttal to the president. It's generally doesn't go over very well. Most people don't even watch it or even care about it, right? So anyway, we talked a lot about the day or two after Trump decided to end the shutdown, and I said that Trump's obviously playing the long game here. And I said in the short term it's a loss, but in the long game it's probably a victory. And here you can see that playing the long game is will very likely now turn out to be a good move by Trump. This will likely end up proving to have been a very good move by Trump, because what did they get? They got 24 to 48 hours tops of media bliss after Trump caved, I guess you could say, to Nancy Pelosi. But that's all they got out of it. And other things came along and replaced it, and now no one even cares or remembers. Remember, people have about a 24-hour memory in the political news cycle. So that's all done and in the past. The last thing that they're going to remember, the thing that will stick in their mind when this is all said and done, is that Trump got his wall. And he ended the shutdown. And then he got the wall. Now, there is some polling out there, and this is not the Democrats' internal polling. They don't release that. But this is a Wall Street Journal poll, a recent Wall Street Journal poll, which shows that Pelosi's approval rating dropped by 6 points. So did Trump's. But his approval rating, within 24 hours of ending the shutdown, he's right back up to where he was. He's back up to 43% now. Pelosi never got the rebound. So right now we have Trump with a 43% approval rating, which is great considering what just happened. He's still sitting pretty much at 43. His base never really left him at all. Whereas Pelosi has now dropped to 28% approval. And she's likely to go down even lower because things are not going to work out for her on this deal. Because, and this is what Democrats in red states and swing states are telling Pelosi, as we see more and more of them, are leaving the Pelosi and Schumer line, which is no border wall funding. We're seeing more of these Democrats walking away from that and now realizing that they have to do something because they're feeling the heat from their districts. So it's very likely that Pelosi is looking at a couple different scenarios here. Now, I expect that she is going to hold firm and not vote for anything that gives money to build a wall. But as far as her party's concerned, they're in a different circumstance. And it's very possible that depending on what comes out of this committee, and I don't have a lot of high hopes for that because Democrats control it, but let's just say that there is $5.7 billion or $5 billion in this from this committee that they're going to vote on, saying that they're going to give Trump $5 billion for physical barrier along the border. If that happens, these Democrats are really going to have to vote for it, especially if it includes some of the DACA protections, because it'll be hard for them to turn that down. And if they do turn it down, they will take a huge hit with the Hispanic community, because who is watching this issue more than anyone? The Hispanic community. They are watching this issue, and they know that in Trump's deal, he gets his money for the border wall, but the DACA people get some relief as well. And there's room to negotiate to get even more. Trump would probably give a little more if they would negotiate. Hispanics are very well aware of this. They're not stupid. So if Pelosi and the majority of Democrats do not give Trump his border wall, he is going to do it by executive order. He's going to get it anyway. All these people know that. Democrats know it. Republicans know it. Everyone in the country now knows. Trump's made it perfectly clear. You got 3 weeks to do it with Congress, or I'm going to do it by executive order, basically. There's also another possibility as well. Trump could be prompted to do it because of a request by the states. You could have some of the governors of these border states do a formal request to the president to secure the border. So there's various ways, semantics, and how this can be played. But the bottom line is the Democrats are facing, and Pelosi are facing, a very difficult choice. If they flat out stay on the position they're in, which is no, anything that includes a physical border wall, border security, border fence, whatever, we're saying no to that. But if they say no to that, everyone knows that Trump's simply going to do it by, declaring a national emergency at the border and doing it anyway. Everyone knows this, in which case the Democrats get nothing. Trump gets his wall and they get nothing. Everyone knows this. So he's put the Democrats in a position where he's saying, look, I'm going to build the wall, period. I'm going to do it with you or without you, by executive order or through Congress. You have it your way. Now, if the Democrats force Trump to do it that way, they get nothing. Nothing. That makes you a very bad negotiator when the other side gets everything they want and you don't get nothing. And Hispanics and other people around the country, Democrats watching this, are quite well aware of this, which means that in order for the Democrats to get something they want, and Trump's given them several things that they do want, they're going to have to give him what he wants. And so they've got a very difficult position, particularly Pelosi. Either the Democrats and Pelosi and Schumer are going to cave and give Trump his border wall or barrier or whatever you want to call it, and get some of the things that they want, protections for DACA and so forth, or they're going to stay towing the hard line and saying no, they'll resist, in which case Trump is going to do it by national emergency, and the Dems get nothing. For who? For the Hispanics and the Dreamers. The DACA kids get nothing. And so Trump has put Pelosi in a very difficult position. He took government shutdown completely off the table. He reopened the government. Now that excuse is off the table. And the only thing on the table is the border security. And that has to do with the wall. Trump gets his wall, and the Democrats agree to that. They also get DACA protections and some other things they want. The Democrats say no, Trump still gets his wall, and they get nothing. You see, that's the position he's now put Pelosi and the Democrats in. So, as I said, when you look at the long game, it favors him. And as it appears that his approval rating, while it went down 6 points, it literally rebounded right back to where it was at 43% just 24 hours, 48 hours later. Pelosi has never recovered, and she's hovering at 28% approval right now. So again, Trump played the long game, and it appears now, from where we are now, that he's going to win. And he's going to win either way. He's either going to win by forcing the Democrats to cave and give him the funding for his physical barrier at the border, and they get some of what they want, or they're going to say, no, he's going to get the wall anyway, and they get nothing. The art of the deal. The art of the deal. And all the media who were smearing Trump and saying, oh yeah, Pelosi really ran circles around Trump. Oh, he's stupid. She's smart. She's a genius. She's a political genius. Yeah, right? You just wait in about 2.5 weeks when it comes down to that day on February 15th, and Pelosi has to somehow decide which of those two paths she is going to take. And both of them are losers. If she doesn't negotiate, Trump gets his wall anyway. Trump wins. If she does negotiate, Trump gets his wall and they get something for DACA, Trump still wins. There's no way he can lose now. Pelosi can either lose or lose even bigger. Let's just see how the media reports that on February 15th when this is clear as to what has happened. Let's see if they still think she's such a political genius. It will appear right after the 15th, after this happens, Trump will be proven to have beaten the socks off of Madame Botox. And she won't look like such she won't look so brilliant when this is all said and done. Trust me. The long game. Well, the rotten Reverend Clinton has probably already hired Perkins Coie, who's then gone on to hire Confusion GPS, to begin going after Kamala Harris and other Democrats to clear the field. Tulsi Gabbard and this daddy Starbucks, whatever his name is, the billionaire who wants to run as an independent. They're going to be going after him big time. You remember, the rotten Reverend Clinton could not win a fair primary against anybody. I mean, even Ocasio-Cortez could probably beat her because she has got so much baggage. All any Democrat running against Hillary has to do is point out her close connections to the corporate class, to Wall Street, to the Saudis, to the Chinese, and everyone else. What a tool she is. That's why the rotten Reverend Clinton always has to clear the field. She did it to carpetbag her Senate seat in New York. She had to clear the field of any Democrats, one of them named JFK Jr. She had to clear the field in order to win the 2016 primary. She had to cheat Bernie. And then the other guy, he was just a stick figure, so she'd have somebody to look like she's running against somebody. But there were a lot of Democrats who wanted to run, and she cleared the field. And I guarantee you, right now, the Right Reverend Clinton has got her operatives working double overtime to clear the field. And if you look at what Kamala Harris is doing right now, she's essentially trying to run the Right Reverend Clinton campaign. She's essentially trying to run that same type of, running the same lane that Hillary did. She's going after the same donors, going after the same crowd, positioning herself in a lot of ways the same way, although she is supporting Medicare for all, which the Right Reverend Clinton did not. But you almost have to in the Democratic Party today to get the nomination. You almost have to support Medicare for all, even though you know it has zero chance of happening. So anyway, you can expect that is what is happening behind the scenes right now, that the Right Reverend Clinton has already dispatched Perkins Coie and Confusion GPS to clear the field. I can promise you that right now they are hard at work putting together dossiers on every one of her opponents. Every one of her opponents. And oh, by the way, I hear that there is a Kamala Harris action figure that may be coming to market. So for those of you who are Kamala Harris fans, you may want to pick up your Kamala Harris action figure. I understand it comes with a. I assume that they'll have Willie What's-His-Name, the mayor of San Francisco, Willie What's-His-Name. I imagine they'll have his bed as part of that, because that's where her political career started, obviously, was in the bedroom of Willie Brown. So I imagine you couldn't really have a Kamala Harris doll without having the bed or bedroom, maybe some little furniture there, a little bed, maybe some mirrors on the ceiling or whatever he's got going there. I'm not sure what he's into. But obviously that would be a nice addition to the doll itself, would be to get Willie Brown's bed. Maybe they can go actually look at the actual bed that they used on various occasions, because it was an actual affair. It wasn't a one-night stand. It was actually kind of a lengthy affair. And maybe they can actually get some photographs and actually make a real good copy of the actual bed where she started her political career. So yeah, her career started on Willie Brown's bed, lying on her back, I assume, although there could be other positions that we don't even want to talk about at this point. But maybe that could be it. Maybe we could get the Kamala Harris doll action figure, which goes into multiple sexual positions. That would be interesting and probably educational for the entire populace. I'd support that. So, anyhow, the Right Reverend Clinton clearing the field. And there's a lot of people who are saying, yeah, but she might be indicted. Well, as a matter of fact, I think one of the reasons she might be thinking that she needs to run for president is because that she thinks she may be indicted, because she will try to flip it and say, see, I run for president again. They're always trying to stop me. The vast right-wing conspiracy. Now they couldn't. They had to stop me in 2016 by bringing in the Russians and WikiLeaks to destroy me. And so now they're going to bring in this criminal charges against me. This is just to stop me from becoming president. Yes, that's right. It's part of the vast right-wing conspiracy. Her indictment will be part of the vast right-wing conspiracy to keep her from being able to win the presidency, because they'll do anything to stop her, because they're terrified. The establishment's terrified of Hillary, because she might actually work on behalf of the people, right? Instead of the establishment, right? That's what everybody believes. So yeah, I think she might be running as a way to fight off the indictments. And maybe she thinks that they won't indict her if she throws her hat in the ring, because they don't want to indict a presidential candidate. But I think those issues are pretty much in the past. I believe if Barr does the right thing and follows the law, equal justice under the law, as he says he believes in, and I don't know who his deputy is going to be, but whoever his deputy is as well, if they look at the evidence and the multiple violations of the Espionage Act, which does not require intent, even though there was intent, there'll be no way that they can not charge the Right Reverend Clinton. So who knows what's going on in the mind of that sick old woman, the Rotten Reverend. Well, Matt Whitaker gave a press conference today where he says that the Mueller investigation is, I think, close to being completed. He thinks it's close to being completed. That's kind of strange because he's the acting attorney general. Seems like he would know if it is or if it isn't. Probably just a manner of speech, I guess. He's trying to say that it's just about ready to be wrapped up. And there's something else about this. By the time it's wrapped up and the report is put out, Barr will likely already be attorney general. Now, I've been through many special counsels and things like this, and if I remember correctly, when they came up with this new rule after when Clinton was president, they came up with this new special counsel rule, got rid of the old one and came up with this new one. And I believe the way this works is that after the special counsel completes his investigation, he does a report. It goes to the attorney general, at which point the attorney general goes through it all, and then they put out essentially their own report, which is based on that report. And what they do, what they try to do, and make sure to do, is that they only really, there'll be a lot of redactions and things that they won't release, but it'll be sort of a summary, like a summary judgment or something, where it'll be a summary of the investigation. And what they won't put in there is anyone who may have been part of the investigation or testified in front of a grand jury, but was never indicted or charged or anything like that. So it will only focus on the actual, it'll give like a general overview of what the investigation was and this and that and the other thing. And then they'll only target people or mention people in it who were actually charged with crimes or found guilty to have committed crimes and things like that. All the other characters who may have been questioned or testified or whatever will be left out to preserve and protect their reputations. So they try not to destroy people's reputations because their name came up in these investigations. So if the person wasn't charged or anything like that, they really won't appear in the final summary report. They will be left out of that because it's not relevant because they were never charged. So what this means is it's almost certain that Trump will not be mentioned in any way, shape, or form within this final summary report, which is all the Democrats care about. And there'll really be nothing in there. They'll talk about Cohen, they'll talk about Flynn, they'll talk about Papadopoulos, whatever. But they really won't be able to say much about Trump, and they won't really put that in a summary, a final summary, because he will not be indicted or anything like that. So he will be free and clear. He will not really be in the summary report at all. It'll take on a different it'll take on really a different look and a different feel and a different tone than what has been presented up to this point. Up to this point, it's been all about Uncle Bob's trying to find the Trump-Russia collusion, whatever, the conspiracy theory or what have you. But in the final summary, it's really going to be a summary about the people who were found to have committed crimes, even if they're process crimes, and the general overview of the investigation. And other people who were not charged will be left out pretty much to protect their reputation, especially the President of the United States. So that's pretty much what you can expect, and it's going to drive the Democrats and the lefties crazy. It's going to drive them crazy. And they'll try to get the original transcripts, and they may have the ability legally to get the transcripts, but Barr will look down very unfavorably on any Democrats in any of these committees in the House who try to use any of that to try to run their own Mueller-type witch hunt in the House. That will be looked down greatly, and if it looks like it's something like that, Barr simply won't allow them access to all the raw data from the special counsel investigation. So that's likely what we're looking at there. It's going to end up being a big fat nothing burger, and it's going to blow up on the Democrats. And then what will they have? What will they have? The Democratic primary, where all the infighting begins and the divisions begin, and it's going to get ugly, and it's going to be very, very humorous. This is the beginning of the destruction. In the next 2 years, you will see the destruction of everything that the Democrats have been working on for the past 3 years. The Spygate, setting up the Trump, the frame up of Trump, trying to take him down, trying to destroy him, the media bullshit we've been watching, the Trump-Russia collusion, Uncle Bob's witch hunt. This entire thing is just going to blow away in a big ball of gas and leave nothing but a rotten smell. And from that point forward, the focus will mainly be on watching the Democrats disintegrate right in front of our eyes. It's going to be quite entertaining, and I'll be here to guide you through all of it. Thank you very much. Here's a good question for you. If the Trump campaign was involved in a criminal conspiracy to get the rotten Reverend Clinton's stolen emails, then why would they need to turn to Roger Stone to arrange it or find out what WikiLeaks had? Because if you look at this Roger Stone indictment and so the emails and the activity, what it was all about was Roger Stone trying to get and trying to find out what WikiLeaks had. Well, if Stone was working with Trump and Trump was working with the Russians on this criminal conspiracy, then why would Trump need to go to Stone and try to get Stone to find out what WikiLeaks has got? Trump would know. He was part of the plot with the Russians, right? So why would he need to turn to Stone? And would Trump turn to Stone? He's known him for 40 years, and they may be friends, but Trump would certainly know that Stone's the last guy that you would want to put into a, give confidential information or be involved in something very confidential or secret. He's the last guy. I mean, Stone cannot keep his mouth shut for a minute. He's the last guy you would bring into anything that you wanted to keep confidential. And of course, the Russians, dealing with Stone or Papagalopoulos or any of these characters, I don't think so. The Russians don't work like that. They are not that stupid. So in a sense, the information that we get from the Stone indictment essentially tells us everything we need to know, is that Uncle Bob has nothing on Trump. And it actually disproves the entire conspiracy theory. Because again, if the accusation they're making is that Stone, on behalf of Trump, was trying to find out what WikiLeaks had, then that tells you that Trump didn't know what WikiLeaks had, didn't know about it, was curious about it, just like everyone else in the country. What has WikiLeaks got? They're threatening they're going to drop all this stuff. Kim.com's talking about it. Many other bloggers are talking about it. People making YouTube videos are talking about it. The news media is talking about it. Everybody's talking about it. And here's Trump, very curious, probably people in his campaign very curious. Hey, what's WikiLeaks got? Maybe Stone can find out what WikiLeaks has. Now, I'm not even suggesting this even happened. But even if it did, it's not criminal. It wouldn't have been criminal for Trump to say, hey, do you know Assange? Why don't you find out what he's got? That's not a crime. Not at all. It would just be curious, like everyone else is curious. But that likely did not happen. But what this proves is that Trump had no idea about anything to do with Russia, what WikiLeaks had, or any type of plot. Essentially, the indictment of Stone clears Trump. Very nice. Well, it looks like the results are in. The Me Too movement has officially set the Me Too movement has officially set women back decades. Because we're now seeing real numbers showing that men who are people in businesses that are in a position to hire are neglecting to hire women. They're being very, very careful about hiring women. Why? Because the Me Too movement has terrified them that they hire some woman that could be sued for sexual harassment or anything else, even accused. We saw what happened to Kavanaugh. You don't have to actually do it. A woman just has to accuse you of doing it. And now the left has said, well, it doesn't have to be proven. Just the accusation is enough. That's good enough. That has terrified many men who own businesses or men who work for people who own businesses. They are terrified. And I wouldn't doubt what there's women CEOs of companies who are even terrified of hiring women. Yes, the Me Too movement has cost women a great deal. And of course, I mentioned earlier that more and more Democrats are now coming to Trump's side and saying they don't have a problem with voting for wall funding. And again, as I've said earlier, a lot of people say, well, the Democrats are, they're not going to come on board. They're not going to vote for wall funding. It's not going to happen. And Trump's going to have to do it by executive order. And I think that that's probably better than 50-50 that is true. Better than 50-50 that Trump will be forced to use a presidential national emergency. But I'm still holding out that there's probably at least 40%, maybe more. Maybe it's 50-50 at this point. That the Democrats, there'll be enough Democrats who will defect and realize that they can't stay with Pelosi any longer on this. And there could be enough Democrats who would defect that they would actually sign on to the proposal that Trump put out there to give him the money for the border wall funding, the $5.7 billion, and also in return they'll get some protections for DACA and some of the other things that they wanted. I think there's I think it's 50-50 right now. It could go either way. Wouldn't surprise me at all if Trump gets this done without having to use presidential executive order, a national emergency. Would not surprise me at all, because Dems are cracking by the day. Well, the Clintons are in Puerto Rico to assist the United States in recovery efforts. They're likely, at this case, they're probably have already burned through all the money they stole from Haiti, and so now they're down in Puerto Rico seeing if they can do some grifting down there. There are lots of government money flying around down there, and I guess that they want to make sure they get their chunk of it. So, I guess a little evening with the Clintons thing wasn't making them any money. I don't even think they're even doing that anymore. I think it's pretty much canceled. The donations to the Clinton Foundation are massively down, as we know, so there's no better opportunity for the Clintons to do some grifting than to show up in a disaster zone and to try to get their hands on some government money with all their corrupt friends that they probably have in the area. So the Clintons working hard and grifting as they do so well. Well, following the announcement of massive layoffs at Huffington Post, the Huffington Puffington Post, and BuzzFeed, it appears that we had employees revolting, the remaining employees at BuzzFeed revolting because the fired employees were being denied the ability to cash in their paid time off, their money or paid time off that they had banked up. They're being denied being able to cash this in as part of their departure, and so they literally had a bunch of people in the office, over 400 I understand, sign a petition to try to force BuzzFeed to pay these people their PTO. And it looks like it may be working, because they put out a tweet saying that they are going to review that request, and they'll talk about it in a Monday morning meeting next Monday. I think they'll cave and probably pay these people their PTO. There is a MAGA hat rally at CNN headquarters. CNN headquarters on February the 16th. That is, I believe, in Atlanta, Georgia, or somewhere, I think, in Georgia. Is it Georgia? I can't remember exactly where. But yeah, there's a MAGA hat rally at CNN headquarters on February 16th. It's being organized by a Tea Party leader named Debbie Dooley. Yahoo is reporting from people close to Bernie Sanders that he is, in fact, going to announce he's running for president again in 2020. Bernie's coming back. Now, having been a part of the Ron Paul movement back in 2008 and 2012, I can tell you that the enthusiasm is never the same the second time around. Although Ron Paul did very well in 2012 and actually got farther than he did in 2008 in terms of getting his message out. But yes, it appears that Bernie is running, and that's just going to really, really push the Democrats hard left, because you just know that Ocasio, Marty Feldman Eyes, is absolutely going to line up behind Bernie, and she'll bring a lot of her left-wing commies with her, and that's going to push the Democratic Party really far to the left in the Democratic primary, and it's going to be a shit show, I can assure you. Trump is now up to 50% approval with Hispanics. 50% approval with Hispanics. Remember what I said about 2 weeks ago on a video. You know, we have a Hispanic family that does the cleaning at our facility. And I'm pretty sure they're staunch Republicans. These Hispanics that have small service businesses, lawn cutting businesses, and other businesses like that, they live in the real world. They pay real taxes. They understand all these things. And they're fairly conservative. A lot more. It's like the black community is in the tank for the liberal Democrats. 90% of them vote Democrat. But it's not true with the Hispanic community. Hispanics, a lot of times, have very deep roots in conservatism. They just don't know it till they get here and practice it. But there you go, 50% approval with Hispanics. That is a devastatingly high number. No Republican president has had that kind of a number that I can remember in my lifetime with Hispanics. And finally, some sad news coming out of New York. It appears that New York has legalized infanticide. In the state of New York, you can now have an abortion up to the moment of birth. the moment of birth. And what makes this so sad is if you go watch the video, you'll see that there's a mass celebration. It looks like a big birthday party for Kumo, when in fact they're actually celebrating the fact that they can kill a child moments before it's born. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll be back tomorrow with more TowerGate. See you guys. Have a good night. Bye.